The NBA's new playoff structure all but will destroy divisions in the National
Oh, it's
Basketball
such a tragedy.
Association.
I love the Central Division.
And who's your favorite team in the
I don't even,
Central Division?
That was always the Hawks and the Bucks and the Cavaliers and the Bulls.
Yeah, back in 1910, I'm sure it was great to watch basketball. But we have the press release from the National Basketball Association to give you some more context from this. Adam Silver, obviously, all on board for it. Those are the standings. We'll get to that in just a minute. But as part of the modifications, the 8 playoff teams in each conference will be seeded in order of their regular season record. Most recently, every division winner was guaranteed a top 4 seed in its respective conference, regardless of its record, but did not receive home court advantage if its playoff opponent had a better record. So now, to last year's Eastern-Western Conference standings, you'll see the Eastern Conference would have been exactly the same. They finished in order 1 through 8, as their seedings would have reflected. But for the Western Conference...
Did the Bulls play the Bucks and the Cavaliers played the Celtics? Is that right?
They did.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, like the Cavs blew out the Celtics. And the Bucks came back 2 games, 3-2, and then lost game 6. But the Western Conference, if you go to the next graphic, you'll see that it would have been ranked like this, with Grizzlies moving up to the 4 at a 55-27 record, the Spurs moving up to the 5 at 55-27 because the Blazers won their division. The
Clippers, who beat the Spurs in the first round, would have beaten the Blazers,
and the
Spurs and Grizzlies would have gone at it, and probably, I'm going to guess, the Spurs win that series. They nearly beat the Clippers, and it was quite a thrilling series, which means we'd have gotten a second round Warriors-Spurs matchup. It would have been better.
Right. So you made the good point, as we were discussing before this, that technically, Ben, you could miss the playoffs if you win your division.
Yeah, except they still may have that.
Right. If I am correct by this, you would be the 8th seed.
Yeah, if you had the worst you could be is the 8th seed if you win the division. We think we're not even. Although it's the odds that someone would be good enough to win one of the 6 divisions, but still come in as the 9th seed.
It might not be mathematically possible.
No, it's certainly possible because their schedule's pretty balanced by conference anyway. So it's definitely possible, but it would be hard to do. It would be
difficult. I still keep looking at this. Warriors won 67 games last year. I continuously look back on that.
Yeah, well, and then they won the NBA championship.
They were 11 games better.
So what the NBA ought to do, so that we don't have to sit around through, because then what they've done here is we have divisions that don't mean anything. Yeah. So there's no reason why the NBA should ever have us open the newspaper in the morning, which is the place where it's more likely to be rather than online, and see, oh, great, I really hope the Wizards are 3 games behind the Heat in the Southeast Division.
No, you just want to see that they're 3 games behind the number 2 to get the number 2 seed in the playoffs.
Right. I mean, we're still, the Wizards are going to compete as much as they already do with Toronto as they do with Miami. So there's really no reason to have the divisions anymore. There should merely be an Eastern Conference and a Western Conference, and there should be as much of a balanced schedule as you can. There's, 15? There's 30 teams in the NBA, right?
Correct.
So you'd have 15 teams in each conference. Theoretically, you should play 3 games against every team in your conference. That's 42 games. 2 games against every team in the other conference. That's 30 more. That's 72. And then you add 10 more games to your conference, but it shouldn't be done by division. So you should play you should play 10 of the 14 teams in your conference 4 times, and the other 4 3 times, and then everybody in the other conference twice. It's as close to a balanced schedule as you can get to.
Well, he's not showing you as a calculator.
By the way, that may already be what they do. I don't even know. Nobody knows. Do the Hawks play the Heat more because they're in the Southeast, or do they play everybody in the East equally? I think they play everybody in the East equally, either 3 or 4, and that would. You
that
can't do
extra game probably goes to your conference. I mean, your
division. I don't know. I don't know that it does, but it shouldn't now because it's meaningless.
Right, and that's the whole point that we're trying to get to is wipe away the divisions. You have the conferences. At least it's the step in the right direction.
But by the way, we also just figured out something else. If you played everybody in your own conference 3 times, that's 42 games. Everybody in the other conference twice, that's 30. That's 72 games. Right now, I just saved the NBA 10 pointless games, and I knocked the regular season down to 72 games. Done. That benefits everybody except the TV networks and them.
Would the first half of the season matter with 10 less games?
10 fewer games. It would matter more. Every game matters more.
Well, the first half of the season doesn't matter, according to Ben Mankiewicz.
Well, I mean, it would matter if you played 50 games. It would matter a lot. That's what I'd do. I'd have them play 54 games.
Well, they had the shortened season, the 66-game season when
They also
NBA
had a
started on
50-game
Christmas.
season. That was better.
That was great. I like the short Christmas shortened season.
60 games. It's too hard a game, man. It's too hard to require that kind of punishment. Everybody makes the playoffs anyway, right? 55% of the league makes the playoffs. You know, this game used to, when I was growing up, we thought of it as a finesse game, and then you go get good seats to a game and sit in the front row, and you're like, this is closer to football than it is to baseball. They can't bang like this for 82 games pointlessly. That's why when you playoffs start, you're like, wow, these guys seem like they're playing harder, because they are. It's not because they're lazy. It's because it's human nature. And when you're playing a game in late November or early December and you know you're going to be either the 2, 3, or 4 playoff seed, it's hard to get all your energy up, especially when we're in the playing 4 games in 5 nights. They're fewer than that last year, but that meant we're extending the season more. Just play fewer games.
I just love the NBA, so I want more games. That's just me, though. More games. The shortened season was interesting, though. I did have fun watching those.
Or not to, or do what nobody would do is if you're going to play 82 games, then you have to have fewer teams make the playoffs.
6 teams each. That would make sense as well. Regardless, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Is this the right step for the NBA to get rid of the meaningfulness of the divisions, conferences, divisions? At TYT Sports on Twitter. We'll see you next time.